Hello everyone, my name is Dar Rath. I'm the pastor at Faith Lutheran Church in Port Elgin, Ontario, Canada. And each week I bring you a message, sometimes written by famous authors. Sometimes these stories are funny, sometimes they're just something to think about. And so this week I'm going to talk about something, the title is You Can't Take It With You. In one of my sermons, I emphasized the importance of getting your affairs in order and making arrangements with your loved ones about your burial. I received several comments and emails about this topic, more than any other that I've given so far in my ministry. Some of the comments were funny, like, could I bring my husband to the cemetery in the U-Haul behind the hearse? So I thought it might be an idea to make some of these points on take 5. So, how many of you have seen a U-Haul behind the hearse? Some people would dearly love to take it all with them. Now here's another thing to think about. It's essential to think about the family inheritance, about the division of the family inheritance. Time and time again, we see people who sit with loved ones in the hospital, keeping a very caring vigil until they pass away. The funeral takes place, and then a month later, there's a meeting with the lawyers, and then the arguments begin. When we hear about these terrible stories, we're forced to examine our own lives to see if our primary focus is on eternity or on the fleeting things in our world. So I encourage you, all of you, to get these arrangements made. Talk about your family about the funeral you want to have or don't want to have. Get your wills done and what your wishes are, and tell them and do it today. In my travels as a chaplain at the hospital and in my ministry, I often am with people who've just passed away, and I ask the family, okay, so how do we proceed? And sometimes they simply don't have a clue. It is so unfair. Now there are some people that say, well, I don't care what they do with me. I won't be here. I won't be alive. So they can do what they want. Let them decide. Sometimes they cannot decide. And sometimes it starts a rift within the family that is so unnecessary. It's so unfair. So please be fair to your loved ones. Another thing, I would encourage you to ask your family to have some sort of a gathering. It doesn't have to be a funeral, a big funeral in the church or anything like that, but maybe just have a come and go tea or invite neighbors in for a coffee. Something where people can remember that you were on this earth, that you lived here on this earth. Now here's a reflection of a management expert who remembered a question that his teacher asked him in his class when he was 13 years old. And this is the question the teacher asked. What do you want to be remembered for? How will you be remembered? None of the students could answer this question, and the teacher said, I didn't expect that you'd be able to answer the question now, but I expect you to be able to answer the question by the time you are 50. You will have lived a good part of your life by then, and the question will be easier to answer. And then all of the students came together for a 50-year reunion, and all of them remembered the question that their teacher had given them. They said that they really didn't understand it very well until they were about 40 years old. They reported that they tried to answer the question when they were in their 20s, but their answer didn't last. It took them many more years to come up with an answer that mattered. The teacher was encouraging them to become the person they could become. All the things of this world are fleeting or transitory. Now, I often walk around cemeteries. I find them interesting places. I've walked around the little cemetery in our area a few times. When we do this, we are forced to remember our own mortality. Sometimes the markings on the stones have worn off, and you have to really rub your hand over the stone to see the name that was there. You wonder who these people were. Who knew them? What did they do? Who cared about them? And who loved them? Recently, my husband and I just bought a plot at Southampton Cemetery. The reason we did that is because I was presiding over a funeral there, and my husband came and carried all things with me, and he went and sat under a tree with his Sudoku. So after the funeral service, I went over and sat with him, and it was so peaceful and quiet there, and we just loved it. And so we decided to have a plot there. So the other question is, what do you write on the tombstone? That's if you're having one. Now, my husband came up with this brilliant saying, it's safe at home. Now, the reason that safe at home is good for us, because we met at a ball game. I was playing senior women's fastball for the Guelph team, and we were playing against Kitchener in the finals in October. And of course, at that time in history, all the stands in the parks were full. People came to watch these games. And so in the middle of the game, it started to pour rain. And so we all ran to the cars, and I jumped into my husband's 1957 Chevy, and that's how I met him. And so 57 years later, we're still together. Another reason is that we coached rep fastball for 15 years in Burlington. And we love the game of ball. We watch the Blue Jays. We watch all the baseball games in the league. And so safe at home is a perfect thing on our tombstone. So what do you want to be remembered for? Do you want to be remembered for your china collection, for your antique cars, for all the money that you've collected up in your lifetime? How about being remembered as a gentle soul who walked through the world seeking peace? How about a person with great generosity who brought laughter into the world? Or about someone who helped others to suffer gracefully or serve the poor? I truly think that all of us want to be remembered as a good person. You see, this is really about what we have and what we are. What we have must be left behind, and what we are, we keep forever. So, some things to think about this beautiful summer day. Thanks for taking 5, and blessings on your day.